Under the shimmering lights of the French Riviera, where the waves crashed softly against the shores of Cannes, something unexpected happened, something so intimate, so fleeting, and yet so unforgettable that those who witnessed it still can't stop talking. It wasn't part of the schedule. It wasn't in the program. And yet, it was the very moment that turned a lavish private wedding concert into an immortal memory. Bruno Mars, an artist who has sold out arenas, who has redefined modern pop and soul, chose this stage, not for the world, but for a small circle of people, to remind everyone why music, and the man who delivers it, feels like pure magic. But what truly stole the night wasn't the setlist. It wasn't the voice that has carried across decades. It was something smaller, quieter, more personal. A dance. A tiny, spontaneous move that cracked open the shell of the superstar, showing the human heartbeat beneath the legend. Imagine it, the night had already reached its crescendo. The guests, still dazzled by the intimacy of hearing Bruno Mars sing just feet away from them, were ready to let the glow fade into the French night. And then, as though struck by a spark, Bruno stepped away from the mic, his smile playing across his face, and let his body answer the unspoken question every fan holds inside. What is Bruno like when the spotlight dims, when the stage isn't global, but personal? With just a flick of the shoulders, a sway of the hips, and the kind of rhythm that only he possesses, Bruno Mars gave them more than a show. He gave them a glimpse into himself. It was short, barely a few seconds, but to the fans, it felt like forever. The moment was raw. It was unfiltered. And in its simplicity, it was unforgettable. But let's pause here. Why does such a small dance matter? Why, in a world where Bruno Mars has performed flawless choreography in Super Bowl halftime shows and Grammy stages, does one tiny move in a wedding echo like a secret whispered across the world? Because it wasn't scripted. Because it wasn't for the cameras. Because, for once, Bruno Mars wasn't Bruno Mars, the icon. He was Bruno, the man, the soul, the kid from Honolulu who grew up surrounded by music, now letting it move him in a room where no pyrotechnics could steal the attention. He was stripped down to nothing but rhythm, and the fans were there to see it. That if you're watching this right now, let me ask you, isn't that what we crave from our heroes? The cracks in the armor. The hidden gestures that show us they are more like us than we dared believe. Bruno Mars, in that wedding hall in Cannes, gave that gift away for free. He didn't announce it. He didn't post it. It spread through whispers, phone clips, and trembling voices of those who were lucky enough to stand in the glow of that moment. And it brings us here, now, telling the story, because stories like this don't vanish. They evolve. They haunt. They remind us, the French Riviera has always been a place of spectacle, of wealth and romance, of secrets hidden behind castle walls and luxury yachts. But that night, Cannes became the backdrop for a different kind of story, one that felt almost mythic. The groom and bride had invited the world's biggest superstar to serenade them on the most important night of their lives. And Bruno delivered, as he always does, with a voice that cuts deeper than champagne ever could, with melodies that feel timeless. Yet after the applause died, the atmosphere shifted. Guests expected the evening to fade gently into celebration. But Bruno lingered. He looked out at the crowd, not as an entertainer under contract, but as a man caught in the energy of the night. The music was still humming through the room, and he couldn't resist. His feet tapped, his shoulders rolled, and then came that small, spontaneous dance. Just for them. Just for the ones who stayed. Some said it felt like watching lightning strike twice. First, the performance. Then, the aftershock. And in that aftershock, Bruno Mars reminded everyone of the power of joy. Because that dance wasn't choreographed. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't meant to be perfect. It was honest. And honesty is what people cling to in a world of filters, edits, and endless perfection. Bruno didn't just dance that night. He revealed himself. And for the fans who know his story, that revelation cuts even deeper. This is a man who was raised in a family of performers, a child who imitated Elvis before he could even spell the name. His life has always been about music, rhythm, and movement. But as his fame grew, so did the walls around him. Every performance had to be bigger. Every step had to be sharper. Every note flawless. Yet here, in Cannes, he reclaimed something he had nearly lost, the joy of dancing not for the millions, but for himself. For the love of the rhythm. For the people who could look him in the eye, not through a screen. In that fleeting moment, he wasn't reminding them of who Bruno Mars is. He was reminding himself, and this, perhaps, is where the story turns. Because while the wedding guests cheered, and the fans online gasped at the leaked clips, the deeper truth is this: Bruno Mars had been quiet for months. Rumors swirled about new music, about hidden projects, about a shift in his career. Some whispered he was burned out, others that he was reinventing himself. But that dance, small as it was, may have been the clue. The clue that he isn't retreating. He isn't fading. He is still alive with the rhythm, still carrying the fire that made him a legend. He's just choosing when, and for whom, to ignite it.so. What does this mean for us? What does this mean for the fans in America who have been waiting, longing, aching for Bruno's return to the big stage? Could this dance-in can be the first step towards something greater? Could this be the hidden sign of a comeback? Or was it nothing more than a gift to a room full of strangers who will never forget it? These are the questions that keep us leaning forward, searching for more. Because Bruno Mars has always played with mystery, always held back just enough to make us desperate for the next beat. And maybe, just maybe, he knew exactly what he was doing when he danced that night. Think about it. Bruno Mars doesn't need to prove himself. He doesn't need to show off his moves at a wedding. He doesn't need to give away anything for free. And yet, he did. That means something. It means that music still flows through him, uncontrolled, unstoppable. It means he still wants to connect, still wants to remind us of the human beneath the star. And it means, above all, that Bruno Mars isn't done writing his story. Not by a long shot. Now, as you hear this, picture the scene again. The chandeliers flickering. The ocean air drifting in from the Riviera. The laughter, the champagne, the applause fading into quiet anticipation. And then, Bruno Mars moves. Just a step, just a groove, just enough to say, I'm here. I'm alive. I'm not done. That's the memory that lingers, the image that spreads across continents. A secret dance, witnessed by a few, carried by many, and now living in you, and maybe that's the real twist. That this wasn't just about Bruno Mars at all. This was about us, the fans. About how we cling to these fragments, these moments, these whispers of authenticity, because they make us believe in something more. Bruno Mars gave that night away, and now it belongs to all of us. It's ours to carry, to retell, to relive, but what comes next? What hidden stage is he preparing? What new rhythm waits just around the corner? Only time will tell. And if history has shown us anything, it's that Bruno Mars never does anything by accident. That dance in Cannes wasn't an accident. It was a message. The question is, are we ready to hear what comes after? Stay tuned. Because when Bruno Mars moves, the world moves with him. And if this is the beginning of something bigger, you won't want to miss it. So make sure you're subscribed, drop your thoughts in the comments, share this story with the fans who still believe in the magic, and hit that like button to keep this rhythm alive. Because the night Bruno Mars danced in Cannes wasn't just a wedding memory. It was history. And history, when Bruno Mars is involved, always dances back.